My name is Pedro Sousa. Besides, thank you a lot, Igor, for the clap. Besides organizing Hive, I actually have a day job, of course. And 3 years ago, I wanted to start a company. But before we get into that, let's go to the topic at hand and define growth hacking. We had two very good points of views from both of our speakers. Growth hacking is just the process of rapid experimentation across marketing channels and product development. So our first speaker spoke a lot more about the marketing channels, or at least his view on the marketing channel. And the second one mostly about product development, to identify the most effective and efficient ways to grow business. Having this definition in mind, it sounded familiar to me. I didn't know what growth hacking was 4 years ago while I was studying. So just to give you some context about my story, I was studying here in Poznan in university. And at that time, I had the goal of setting a company. It was very spontaneous, that's another story, but I wanted to start a company. So I was coming to events like Hive. This is how I first got in contact with Hive. And I met programmers, I was meeting with them, and actually one day in one of those meetings in a coffee shop, a man overheard us and he came near us in a very weird way. He made a very long silence. I said, "My name is da-da-da, and here's my business card." And we were like, "What? Who the hell is this guy?" And then later it turned out that after several meetings, he was actually an investor that had 6 companies. He was looking for somebody to start the digitalization of his business. So he was looking for somebody to turn his business, which is actually printing this type of products, roll-ups, but also the type of things you see in Zara, for example. When you go to Zara, H&M, and all these stores, if you look at the walls, there's an image there. So that's printed. It's a form of large format printing, and he wanted actually to digitalize his business. He wanted to create a company that would sell these products online, so a B2B web shop. And since that sounded familiar to me, you know, I knew nothing about business, but I thought that this rapid experimentation, because I wanted to start my company, so I was already reading about growth hacking, so on. This rapid experimentation sounded very familiar, because I had done it in sports and video games. Yeah, I know, nerdy. But I had done it before. Just to give an example, it's an analogy. I used to play tennis, and when I was about 13 years old, I was completely addicted. And I used to go there 4 hours before my training, and I used to beat balls against the wall. And it was just, I was forehand. And I saw the ball hitting the wall, and I could adapt my behavior to that ball. So I knew exactly what I did wrong, and I could adapt it in a matter of seconds. I knew what I had to change. Sometimes I stopped, I reassessed, I made a strategy in my head, and then I tried to produce that physically. And with that mindset, not only in tennis, but in other things, I achieved some successes, including video games. Yeah, nerd. I thought business is the next great thing, because it's all competition for me. So that was my passion, that was what motivated me. And I thought, even though I don't really like this industry, I really like the idea of making something scalable. So this is the context for what I'm about to say. Just a small break, because I need to open the water bottle. Awkward. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. So I had no doubt that I would learn via rapid experimentation. But it was not so rapid. And why was it not so rapid? I know there's probably a lot of entrepreneurs here who are eager to hear about growth hacking tactics. But if you notice, both of our previous speakers who actually achieved something and grew their business did not really speak about more than 1 or 2 tactics. And that's because there are many tactics, and all of them work depending on how you do it and whether you are good at it. I can say that I've tried all of these, and I failed at most of them. But the most interesting thing that I took out of this was not that I'm an expert in growth hacking. I cannot tell you, and I will not tell you that one is better than the other, because it all depends if you're in a B2B business, if you're in the printing industry versus the software industry, if you're in Poland or in Germany. Everything is different everywhere. So what you do have to do is test. Test, test, and test. And to do that, you need to be able to hit a ball, see the ball hitting the wall, which is the market, and see how it comes back to you. But in business, this happens. It's not 2 seconds, right? It's not pow. It takes a while. It takes actually months. It takes years in some cases. So what you need is a very, very, very good framework. And I'm not going to tell you again that you should do this growth hacking tactic or that growth hacking tactic, but I'm going to tell you what I think is a good framework. And it looks a little bit, cliche, but hopefully as I get into it, it will make more sense. One thing that I did when I started the business was I decided that I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to put 18 hours of work per day, I'm going to sleep, and I'm going to repeat. So I did that. I told myself I'm going under the radar. I actually was very proud of using this expression with my friends. As, guys, I'm going under the radar. You will not hear about me for a while. And here I went to my company. I started the company alone, right? I got money from the investor. It was just me. I had freedom to hire, to not hire, to subcontract, to not subcontract. So I put in my time. I subcontracted developers, and I was working as much as I could on the business. And I decided that I made a lot of wrong decisions. So the second point is decision making. I'll specify inside one of them. And the third is self-awareness. So let's start with networking. I stopped networking. I stopped coming to this event, for starters. I'm back, and that's for a reason, as an organizer, and that's for the same reason. So my mistake was that I thought I had to do everything by myself. Since I was used to playing tennis, which is an individual sport, and I was hitting the ball against the wall, I was used that I could adapt my feet, my arm, so on. But in business, it's not like that. If you want to apply a growth hacking tactic, it's not you who's going to affect it, most likely, unless you are some growth hacking expert, and then in that case, you're not here, right? You know already everything about growth hacking. So actually, the advice that I have regarding network is to never, never, ever stop networking. Don't start networking when you have a need for it. For example, I thought about getting into Hive because I wanted clients for my business. But the reason why I'm here today is not that. I actually think you should make it a habit. You should attend to meetups and to industries, because when you need people, it's too late. When you want to force a contact, if I would like to speak with Thomas about this meeting, if I'm you, I would be, out of my seat, but maybe there's a line of 10 people, and then I'll come across very fake, very, hey, I want to, very pressuring. Whilst if you do this on a daily basis, or monthly basis, weekly basis, you're just going to meet people that you don't even imagine that they're going to be useful for you, but they will. And your network is everything. Your network is your employees, it's your clients, it's your subcontractors, it is absolutely everything. So it affects growth hacking very much. So I think you should find a group of people that are passionate about the same topics as you are, and you should just come to these events more often. Don't just come to these events because they are about the right timing for your business. Just keep attending them. Probably organize them in your company if you already have one. Decision making was the second big topic in this framework, and of course they are all connected. But I made most of the decisions alone. I had this belief that I was being given money by somebody because they trusted me to make the right decisions. So I thought that I had to learn exactly everything about every business, every part of the business. So I didn't try making decisions in group. I didn't try searching for the right advisors. I tried to learn online. Of course, I asked people, but since I didn't network, then that was very limited. And I have recently learned a lot from this topic from watching the behavior of a very experienced auditor and manager, which recently joined the board of the company. He's one of the founders of Allier Bank, and he has audited more than 300 companies. He was the CEO of Allier Bank. Is no longer involved in the management. He now manages a fund, and he invests in companies. So what he does for a living is actually building up strategies for people to succeed. And I wondered, how does this guy do it? If I'm going to have the chance to sit with a shark, because he's literally a shark from Shark Tank, if I'm going to have to sit in the same room as this man, I wonder what he's going to say. Is he all-knowing and all-powerful? Is he going to tell me that in 2 weeks he expects this from me, and in 1 month he expects this from me? Is he going to tell this to every department of the company? And I was pretty surprised that he didn't do that. He entered and he basically asked questions. He just asked a lot of questions. The first meeting he held was a meeting with 20 people. Our company has 70, so he basically took half of the company. I thought he was going to take the top management and he was going to speak us one-on-one and tell each department what to do. He took in 20 people, where 10 people work in a production house. So we are talking about operators, from every part of the business. You get to produce this, somebody needs to operate the machine, somebody needs to mount the product, pack the product. So he basically took a representative from each area, and he asked a lot of questions. And the thing that I took from there was, and it was not only one meeting, of course, it was several meetings, is that he doesn't look to have the answers. Of course, he has an amazing experience, and he can guide people very well and coach people very well. But what he does is he finds people with talent. He finds people with talent in a certain area, let's say, for the sake of example, IT. And he says, he identifies that person in the organization, and if that person has talent, he'll figure it out, right? He doesn't ask for it. He kind of leaves, he gives a general picture of what needs to be done in the organization, and then he retreats for 2 months, no contact, and he waits to see if there's a leader in that topic that will come up. And once that leader comes up, he knows that we got that problem solved in the organization. But if that leader doesn't come up, then we need to find one, and then we need to hire somebody. And this was something that I didn't do, particularly in almost all of those cases. Of course, for decision making in group, you need to select the group. So that's a skill. You need to know who's missing, who has the skills and who doesn't. You need to know how to conduct a strategic meeting. It's hard to sit 10 people in a table who probably have a closed mind about changes in their organization, and kind of be able to coordinate the debate in an orderly fashion. Like, what are we going to change? What are we going to do? So there's a process. That's actually a link. Of course, you cannot click, but I can make it available afterwards. I'm actually going to post all of this in a LinkedIn post. So if you would be interested in accessing the links, it will be available there. And also, you need to know how to conduct a tactical meeting, which is much more project-oriented. What needs to be done tomorrow? What are the deliverables? What are we going to do in a week? What are we going to do in 2 weeks? What are we going to do in a month? And all of these things, it sounds like bullshit from a management book, but it is real, and it has real impact on your growth hacking tactics, because that's what we're talking about today. It has impact also in your product development. It actually has impact in all areas of the organization, but specifically speaking about growth hacking, when you're making a decision, you're making a commitment. Time, money, resources, knowledge, skills. You need to have all of these things in place to apply a growth hacking tactic. If you don't have this, you don't need to come up with this by yourself. What you need is to surround yourself with a group. It doesn't need to be a big group. It needs to be a group of, it can be a 3-people group of open-minded people who have skills. They know their skills. That's the next point. It will be self-awareness. And you need to find whoever is lacking for your tactic. So it takes us to the third point, which is self-awareness. And this is, again, a cliche. Water break. And self-awareness is as important as the other two, and they're all connected. Which is, you need to be aware of what are your strengths. My company went technically bankrupt, so it's a failure that I carry with me, but it taught me a lot, and I won't repeat many of these mistakes. It didn't go technically bankrupt, but it was going to, so I'm not like sugarcoating it. It was a failure. And in that process I sold my shares, and it got me thinking, why are you doing this? Why are you working in a printing house, in a business that you're not passionate about, going back to passion? And I started thinking, is there something you like doing in here? What is something you really enjoy doing? What are you good at? Simultaneously, right? You must like doing it and you're good at it. And is it useful for the company? And I was all over the place. I recruited people. I ran product development of the web shop. I started a sales team. I started a marketing content team. I started a production hall of these aluminum structures. I was all over the place. I was wasting my strengths. I was basically telling myself, you're capable of learning anything. You did it in tennis, you did it in video games, you did it in other areas of your life. So go learn one by one, and then you can train people. You can hire people that will keep doing it, but you will know more than them. And this is exactly the opposite of what you should be doing. Because once you find something that you like doing, you're good at, and it's useful for your company or for the world if you're an entrepreneur, yeah? If it's useful, that's what you should focus on. And there's this sentence that I came across not so long ago, which is, there's a huge amount of freedom that comes to you when you take nothing personally. This plays a lot into self-awareness, because you need to know what triggers you. After selling my shares, I got myself thinking, in what moments am I pissed off at somebody in the company? In what moments, there were certain people that I knew that the moment they opened their mouth, and I got, here it comes. And I thought, why? What is the reason why you're like that? And it took me a week thinking this over. And it was actually because I had a low self-esteem area. Most of the people, when they are aggressive towards somebody, and I had this defensive attitude, most of the people, when they are aggressive towards somebody, it's because they have a point of low self-esteem. Whatever it is. Maybe you don't trust your knowledge, maybe you don't trust your skills, I don't know. Maybe you're an insecure person. But I identified mine the moment I sold my shares, which is kind of ironic, which is I wanted to be perceived as an owner. And that's very, it's tough to admit, but it's very ridiculous. I was having conversations and I was trying to develop things and create growth tactics, but I was being trumped. Also, I was being trumped by my own low self-esteem. So if you're self-aware of what you're strong at, you should not have many, and you let go of your weaknesses, and you let go of these stupid things that you put in your head, that you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to be an owner, and a person is building a company for 6 years, but then you want to be treated the same as for 6 years, for 20 years, but then you come up and you're this new guy on the block, but you want to be treated the same as the person that is investing the money. If you let go of all of this bullshit, it comes an incredible, huge amount of freedom that lets you work with people as a group. And it's in this decision making, in this networking, it affects it all. So these things all combine in one big bag. And how does this all relate to growth hacking, besides the points that I already made? This framework is, if going back to the example of the tennis wall, if the market is the wall, your team is the player. You're not the player. Your team is the player. You're perhaps the right arm, the right foot, The left, who knows? Maybe you're the least important of them all. Maybe you are the hair. That might be the truth. But as long as you realize that, you can go and find the head, the right arm, the left arm, and you can sit together in a room. You can speak about things openly, and you might as well look for people who are self-aware, because if you get people that have low self-esteem and are not self-aware, then you're going to get a right arm that thinks is a left arm, and then the discussion is not going to be very nice. But once you do that, you can start playing the game of growth hacking, which is you test the market gives you an answer, you react. And my problem was I was not really testing the market because my strategy was not the best. I didn't know how to start a blog. I didn't know how to write content. I didn't know how to make a content strategy. So specifically speaking, let's grab this one example. I hired an editor and I hired a social media specialist who could also do PPC campaigns. And for 6 months, they produced content. While our website was delayed 6 months, so we basically did not have a website, so we could not use the content, we cannot capture the leads, and all of these things. I just saw this ball rolling. Why? Because I hired a development company, which at the time I was inexperienced. I wouldn't know that because I didn't know all these things. But the development company was also perhaps not the best choice. The way we invested the money in the website, which is not their fault at all. We hired one developer instead of hiring, for example, 5, spending almost the same amount of money and having it done in months, weeks, instead of years. So this could have all been avoided if I just had been surrounded by the right people to begin with. So if I would do it all again today, I would start from the top. I would get, perhaps I wouldn't be lucky enough to get your bank founder, but I would try to get the best mentor possible. And I've always had this thought, what the hell do you want a mentor for? Like, who are these startup guys who get mentors and mentor other people? And do they do it for free? What do they get out of it? You can find people who will mentor you for free because they see potential in you. And perhaps in the future it will lead up to what Victor was saying. Perhaps in the future they will get something out of it. Perhaps they will get shares in your company and have a full-time job. Perhaps they will combine their company with yours. Who knows? But if you find the right people, you will build a team where you can make decisions. And it doesn't have to be all on you. It's a huge, huge, huge amount of freedom when I know that I'm planning a budget. I'm making a decision that's going to cost hundreds of thousands of zlotys, millions of zlotys. It's not mine. It's the group's decision. It's very, very relieving. And to be practical, for people who are starting out, who are a one-man army, who are here to learn about the growth tactic of how to start a blog, which one is the best, which one should I do, you should actually not do any of them. If you don't know how right now, just network and find a person that does. On your free time, of course, if you have interest, if you want to be the best in that for the rest of your life, I advise you then to do it, to try it. But don't stop networking. Come here, go to other events. There's plenty of them. Network your ass off. Not because you need this one person, but just because you need everybody. You need all the network. And eventually, these growth hacking tactics will start happening because you'll find a guy who is very good at social media and knows a lot more than you. He will come in and he will tell you what the strategy is, what the goal should be. He will tell you what's the measurement of the market, what KPIs you should use, what should be how should your forehand look like, how should your backhand look like. And then you find a guy who is really, really good at creating the content for that social media. You'll find a guy who's the feet. And he'll move around really good, and he'll create amazing posts, and he's an amazing copywriter. I wrote blogs. I suck at writing. It takes me hours because I am a perfectionist, and I write something, and then I look at it, not so nice. Actually, it was pretty good to do this presentation today in 20 minutes because I was forced with time, and I had to do it. But I would probably spend hours doing this. Trying to wrap it up. This is my input on the topic of growth hacking. I hope it was valuable, and thank you a lot.
Are there any questions for Pedro? Anyone? Wait for a minute. Oh.
Dorota, can you put the
Hi.
image? Hello.
So, do you have your new business? Because you started talking about finding new passion, but you didn't actually elaborate on that. So, do you have your new company and your new project?
No. I didn't elaborate on that on purpose, because that's another topic. Like finding out what's your purpose, it's a whole different thing, and everybody will eventually get there if they just try enough. And think about the subject. You kind of need to think. If you just go day to day without doing it, you'll eventually not know. But I'm still working in the company. So my company was merged with the other 6 companies, and now it's one company. It's a very interesting project, and we're working on that. But yes, I do have a passion, which is for IT. I don't want to be doing anymore starting the production and the recruitment and so on and so forth. And it's not of a passion, it's more of maybe I'm good at it, I'm good at organizing. So all of these things like conducting meetings, organizing projects that are a little bit complex, putting them in a list, trying to figure out with people who should work on what. I'm good at it, but it doesn't fulfill my 3 points of you need to like it, you need to be good at it, and your company needs it. It fulfills the 2 of them. So what I'm doing today is I'm responsible for the IT in the newly merged company, and I'm also responsible for project management or organizational development. But that doesn't give me much pleasure, but it's needed, so I do it.